सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were studying the topic how to gain wisdom. The first thing we understood about it is that when we're talking about knowledge, we have to be talking about wisdom. Because knowledge is not about just learning mechanically some do's and don'ts, do this, don't do this, and then getting frustrated because you're forced to do those things. This is not what knowledge is. Knowledge has to unfold our personalities. Knowledge has to blossom us out, not suppress us, repress us, force us to become hypocrites or force us to become mm, uncomfortable. If knowledge is making us uncomfortable, then what is the point of it? So, knowledge is not about mechanical rules, especially religious knowledge, such as what we are doing. In fact, many people like to say that Vedanta is not religious knowledge, which is quite strange because it is. What is not religious knowledge is what is done outside Vedanta. It is the misunderstanding of religiosity that is the problem. It is this is Vedanta, this is religious knowledge. What else is religious knowledge? But religious knowledge has come to mean my religion is best and yours is worst. My God is better and your God is worse. And what we do is right and what you do is wrong. This is all nonsense. This is not religion. This is immaturity. Maturity is understanding the whole picture. Different people are comfortable with different things. And rightly so. Why should they be comfortable with what we are comfortable with? They have to live their life in their way. We have to live our life in our way. So there's no clash. There is no fight. If everybody lives that honest life, by honest, I don't mean just a superficial honesty of, let us all talk the truth. Not that kind of superficial thing, but deep down honesty, that you are authentic to yourself. You practice arjava. You do what according to you is right. And if each one of us lived our life, then that is the life of true dharma. Dharma is your capacity to live the moral life. Nowadays, moral life and all is not in anybody's. It's not there in public discourse. Do you ever hear anyone talking about a moral life? And if anyone does talk about a moral life, they are छोड़ो यार ये सब boring चीजें हैं. But a moral life is a life of character, is a life of productivity, is a life of happiness, is a life of human being as differentiated from any other being. You are you with the capacity to be yourself. This is the role of knowledge. Not to suppress us, not to allow indulgences, but to live authentic to yourself, to your level, to your understanding, to your belief, authentic to that. And when we do live authentic to that, then what happens is we get to know. We get to know whether we were right or wrong. But if we were fanatical about those beliefs, we will never find out whether they were right or wrong. It is important that we live that authentic, moral life, the life of arjavam, the life of religiosity, the life of knowledge, of wisdom. These are all synonymous terms. And all of them equally misunderstood. Ab kya kare? It's tough, isn't it? So, the first paragraph told us what it is not. Religion is not about do's and don'ts. Religion is not superimposing artificial rules of conduct either on others or on ourselves. Why should we impose them on ourselves? What is this think that we all have to live up to. We don't have to live up to any of that nonsense. People will say you have to be like this or you have to be like that. No, you don't. Who said you have to be like that? Do whatever you want. You're a human being. As long as you live authentic to your own understanding of life, you're good to go. No man, no God can ask you more than that. Because you have done what according to you was the right thing. Now time may show you that was the wrong thing. Never mind, it was still a moral life. Because you did what was right for you. Then, and you do that, and then the understanding will grow. You will find out you were wrong. And when you do find out you are wrong, you're blessed, isn't it? You found out once and for all that it was wrong. You won't have confusion on that issue anymore. You gained real knowledge. So when we gain that kind of knowledge, excuse me, when we gain that kind of knowledge, a real knowledge, a knowledge that really directs our life, how can we make mistakes subsequently? You understood it. That's the example he gave. The child will touch the hot plate, get burnt, and then he understands once and for all, he will not go anywhere near that thing again. Isn't it? Understood it once and for all. Never, now or in any other janma, will you perform this mistake again. You will not do it. It is gone. Now, do you want that, or do you want to have some superficial rules imposed on everybody so that they will do it whenever they get a chance? The charity that comes along with wisdom. By charity, the charitable disposition that comes along with wisdom. The willingness to allow other people to make mistakes. These are all signs of wisdom. You don't hold it against anybody that they made a mistake. And these beautiful traits for us to get. So how will we get these traits? We have to first begin by a very, very basic understanding. And what is that most basic understanding that we must get? Preliminary understanding in life. I hope that understanding brought you to this class. What is that understanding, preliminary understanding that we must have?
That we don't know.
Don't know. Yes, correct. That we don't know. Now you say, I've been in Vedanta class for 7 years. Now I know. That means you lost the innocence which you came with. Please don't lose it. It's a very simple way to know whether I know or I don't know. How would we know whether we know or we don't know? What is the most simple way of knowing this?
If we are calm, it means that we are learning something. When we are agitated,
Okay, so one way that Aditi says is if you're calm. But there's a problem with that way, Aditi, because you can be calm because your husband just gave you a diamond ring, you're very happy with life. Okay, we are not talking about that. Calmness, no doubt, comes out of knowledge, but it can come out of other things too. Or your husband has gone on tour, so you're calm. Okay, one of these two things have happened, so you're calm. That doesn't mean knowledge has taken place. So it's not a good yardstick. Of course, it's a good yardstick when you say you're getting agitated. That means you don't know. Okay, so that is fine. When you do not have desires to satisfy. Yes, Vaishali, you're right. But can you say it in some other way so that I know that you've got what it is? What is the question you have to ask yourself? Because when you say don't have desires to satisfy, you could be a very tamasic person, right? I don't have desires to satisfy. I don't want anything. Very, very tamasic. Can you put that, Vaishali, in a different way?
When you are in control of desires.
Okay, that is a possibility.
When you have higher desires, or desires for the higher?
All possibilities. when you stop reacting to each and everything. Captain Mehta, actually, you can't say that because even a tamasic, you're right, it's not that you're wrong, but even a tamasic person can do that, right?
When your intellect is governing the mind.
Yes. How do you know? These are all probably when you find peace in self. Yes, Vaishali, you're very close, but I still don't know whether. Uh, can you put it in one or two words?
When we are
Very
happy,
good.
irrespective of what's
Self-realization.
happening around.
Yes. Yes, you're all right. But the most stringent yardstick, Vaishali has finally said it. Vaishali, are you new to class? Who's sorry, but I can't remember. Vaishali, where are you? I can't see you anywhere. Vaishali, you have been attending. Okay. From Ahmedabad. Ah, yes, of course, from Ahmedabad. I remember. From Ahmedabad, people are most interested in Vedanta. We have to do something in Ahmedabad sometimes, sometime in the future, whenever we get a chance. Yes, Vaishali, you hit the nail finally on the head. To know whether I'm ignorant or not, the most simple question you can ask yourself is this one: am I self realized? Have I achieved enlightenment? Have I achieved self realization? And if you are honest, only then, of course, you can answer that. We all know for certain we have not realized the self. We have not become a Buddha, a Rama, a Christ, a Muhammad. We haven't. If we haven't, we are ignorant souls. So when you come to the class, you understand maybe that you're ignorant. But having come to the class, if you get the feeling that you know, then you're going in the wrong direction. Because the fact is that until we have reached self realization, we just don't know. We have no idea what mistakes we are doing right here, right now. So don't tell me. You know, I see people who've been studying Vedanta for 20 years, for 30 years, and you say that, I know. No, you don't. Because if you haven't realized the self, you still don't know. So the most primary knowledge that we have to carry with us at all times is this recognition, deep down recognition of one's own ignorance. Never in my life should I come to this point when I say, I know. Now, why would you say that? Why should you say that I should never come to this point where I say, I know? Why should you never have this statement, I know?
We don't grow further.
Very good, Deepa. Because the moment you get the feeling, I know, the door's shut. They're absolutely shut. Yes, Vaishali, stop learning. The door's shut. Finished. The journey's over. You know now. And how sad would that be? Imagine. You came 50% of the way. Thought you knew. And the story's over now. It's very, very sad. Because those of us who have been blessed to come into the precincts of Vedanta, somewhere near Vedanta, it would be so idiotic on our part to now let it go. Wouldn't it? Just disappear. It's so idiotic of us.
Janki ji,
Anji Pratap bhai.
when I say I know, it doesn't mean I know even I know up to uh, now. I mean, of course, it's a very. I mean, you have to. You can't keep saying I don't know, and then you will say you have been attending class for last 5 years. Uh, but up
You
to
don't
that,
have to go around saying, I don't know, I don't know. In your heart, you should know that when I know half, I have no idea whether this half that I know, I know or I don't know. Because I don't see the whole picture. So the fact is, I don't know. And I must know that in my heart. I don't have to go around telling everybody I don't know. I don't know. If I ask you what causes agitations and you know the answer to that, you say, yes, I know the answer to that. The answer to that is what causes agitations?
Desire.
Desires.
Desire. See, Reshma knows.
Desires. Right.
Desire. Only
Yeah.
one cause of agitation. There is no other cause of agitation. It's not possible for agitation to happen unless there's a desire. Okay, so you know this.
Yeah.
But having known this, you must know that you don't really know this. How do you know you don't know it? You're still pursuing
Still
desire.
getting agitated.
Yeah, still pursuing desire. You still think that if I get that, I'll be okay. Still pursuing desire. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. So when I say I don't know, I don't need to go to the extreme and behave like a fool. But in my heart, I know that I don't know. And that's the only way you learn. In fact, the older we go, the more careful we have to be. Because as we grow older in life, we get more and more the sense that I know something. Every one of us. We are all heir to that. When you're 90 years old, you will think I know everything. Because you will have seen a lot, right? But the fact remains that just because you've seen a lot, just because you can see now that this person is doing this mistake, I had done it then. Not yet right. Still don't know. You know, like maybe I made a mistake. I did something, it was a mistake when I did it. But now it's 50 years later. The person is doing the same thing and it could be right now. Still don't know. This deep sense recognition of my ignorance is the starting point of knowledge. When you say it's a starting point of knowledge, we think of it as something of the past. If I want to gain knowledge today, if I am actually attending a class today, I must start every class with the comprehension of my own ignorance. So that's what he's trying to say. If you want knowledge today, from here, wherever you are, you want knowledge now, then the doors have to be open. And the doors can be open only to the extent I believe I don't know. It's very difficult. You know, if there was a test on this, none of us would be able to attend class also. We'd say, oh, how can I even attend class? Because I fail at this, I fail at the first step. I don't think I don't know. And I think I know. How is it that I can know that I think I really in my heart of heart, I believe I know. And when I believe I know, I will do a particular activity. And what is that activity? You know what people do when they believe they know? You may say, no, I humbly admit I don't know anything. Your lip service we can give very easily. How do we know that in my heart is the belief that I know? How would I know it?
We are very confident about it.
Okay, maybe, yes, that's the one thing. What else? Which is one
We may
activity we will undertake when we believe we know.
we may
Advice.
go around
Go around telling
telling
people.
Start advising.
Very good. All of y'all are getting it. Correct. So many. I'm so happy. When lots of people give the right answer, then that means this class is doing well. Because we want to give people advice. We want to tell people how to live their lives. Yes, Jatin, you preach, you advise.
It is embarrassing. Uh, Rather, I start withdrawing myself. I will not advise anybody.
Yes, no wise person advises anybody. You don't advise. Why would you advise? 90% of our advice is given to people who never asked for it.
Not
Being rather
necessary.
charitable. Huh?
Not necessary.
Not necessary. If you're not doing that, great. But 90% of our advice of most people, But to be honest, I'd say 99% of all advice given is given when it's not asked for.
Yardstick that I follow is when somebody is hungry, then tell him, you know.
Okay, if you do it, very good.
I
But
mean,
that's not what we do.
as
That's
far
it.
as possible.
Okay, if you do, that's great. All
Start li-
advice. Yeah.
you start living it. If you know what you
Yes, you start living it. That is true. But when we have in our hearts the belief that I know, we are very willing to advise people. Very, very willing. The moment hardly anyone mentions a problem, we have a solution ready to that person. A person is not interested, we are just talking unnecessarily. People love their problems, they don't want solutions. Why are you going around giving solutions? Nobody's asked for it. And before we give a solution, have we really understood where that person is coming from? Yes, Teja, especially our kids. We always advise them. That's why all kids are trying to run away from their parents. Because every parent, they look at the child and they start advising. It's like, and then the children are rude, and then the parents say, "Oh, children are so rude. Obviously, they'll be rude. What else will there be?" Suppose somebody, the moment he looks at you, starts giving you advice, what will you do? Well, mind your own business. Why are you advising me? You think you're so smart, you live your life, no properly. So it's irritating to people when we advise them. On and on, beta, ऐसे करो, beta, वैसे करो. Beta, sweater pehno. If your beta is not sensible enough to know that he is cold and therefore he needs to wear a sweater, you better let him feel cold and find out that he needs to wear a sweater. Do you need to tell a 25-year-old boy that, beta, sweater pehno? Pagal ho kya? The child can tell, not the child, that adult 25-year-old boy can tell whether he needs to wear a sweater or doesn't need to wear a sweater. And if he cannot tell it, it's time he learnt. What are you advising for? Beta, breakfast khalo. When he is hungry, he will eat. In the West, I don't see parents carrying on at their children the way here we carry on. Beta, beta ye karo, beta ye karo, beta wo karo. ऐसे नहीं बेटा, वैसे. Irritating. Get off my back. All the kids say, "Can you just chill, mom?" And still the mom won't get it, or still the dad won't get it, or still the grandfather won't get it, or still the great grandfather won't get it. Child is saying, back off. Don't get it. Leave them alone. And we don't leave them alone because
We think we know.
very good, Reshma. I'm so glad everybody's following. Because we think we know, I know, and you don't know. That is why I'm going to tell you. And the other person is going to get just as irritated and say, I know, why are you telling me? And ye jhagda hota rehta hai. So all these things in life show us that we haven't reached the first stage of knowledge, which is the awareness of our own.
Janki ji, this thought came across my mind because a lot of this youth, a lot of atrocities are happening. So the parents are very concerned. Now, then how do you put it? Recently also, I think from Bombay, a 19-year-old girl, I mean, she went out on a New Year Eve and she was found dead. Now, these sort of reportings, when they come in the paper, how do we apply our Vedanta knowledge to, like how does a parent not give any advice to a child who may be risking her life, or with which friends is she moving around or he is moving around? So how do we deal with such situations?
You call a family conference in the sense you say that I'd like to talk to you about something. When will you be available? And sit down with that person and discuss the matter. Okay? Have your time, have your place, and that's it. You talk about it. Figure out what, according to you, are the steps that we are going to take for this kind of safety to happen. Okay, let the child only tell you, because the child is on the ground, knows that. So what are the acceptable steps? What can be done, can't be done? Discuss the matter with the person, assuming that the child, it's a grown-up child, and come to a conclusion. Whatever you people conclude finally, maybe you're overreacting, maybe more steps need to be taken, whatever it is. Decide the course of action. Decide that, okay, we will talk about it again, maybe after a couple of weeks, or whatever you want to do. Decide your course of action. The topic is closed. That's it. Not talking about this anymore. This is not what we do. That when people are available, we discuss with them whatever they want, whatever our issues are. What we will do every 2 minutes, bitter, 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 bitter. And don't irritate the person. You can't every 2 minutes, whenever this thought comes into your mind, start saying it. You see the difference?
Thank you. Thank you.
That is one of the reasons in class also we try to maintain this discipline, because just because a thought has come into my mind doesn't mean I need to express it. That's why we have this, that at the beginning of the class you write it down, so that you've thought about it over a period of time, and then you're saying whatever you're saying. Even when you teach Vedanta, you can't just open a book, read something, and come and talk about it. By Swamiji's standards, you have to have studied it for at least 10 years on a daily basis before you have any liberty to speak on it. Or at least minimum 3 years. 3 years you did nothing, full time you did only Vedanta, then you can speak about it in very small doses to 1 or 2 people. Okay, so that's the amount of thought that should go behind what we say. That's how much we have thought about the whole thing. That's how much we have applied ourselves. And we are so, there's no depth in our words because there's nothing behind those words. There's no thought that has been applied to those words. When Swamiji speaks, he could be saying the most simple, most basic thing. Then why does it have so much impact? Everybody is like, "Ji jaan dene ke liye taiyar hai only." Why? Because whatever he said is backed up by so much thought that you can't ask him a question which he hasn't already thought of and already knows the answer to. It doesn't happen like that. That's what depth is about. You can go digging all you want, you won't be able to catch him. You must say, how do you know? Because I tried. I did. I asked him so many questions. I got the name Question Queen. I asked him so many questions when I first met him. I won't let him proceed in the class. So many questions. Every class I would start with 5. I have 5 questions. Start like that. I can't ask him a question he doesn't know the answer of. When he starts an academy, he has already put in decades of work. Decades of work means decades not of setting it up, decades of thinking this thing through. Now you know the power of him saying something. Backed. So this is where we have to train ourselves. Okay, so this is going to take a long time. Chill, relax. This is a long-term journey we have started. In the West, kids leave home by 16 to 18 in spite of parents not cajoling them. Who told you that they don't cajole them? They don't cajole them in terms of food. But every parent gets into on their kid's case in one way or another way. They get on their case. Over here, it is a large part on food. Our culture is very food related. Love is expressed in food. Instructions are given in food. It's all very food related. Who told you that in the West they don't interfere in their lives. Of course they did. If you didn't interfere in your child's life, why would the child want to leave? They're very comfortable at home. They do.
You just
All parents do. It's a mental
you just
ailment.
mentioned about that, that's why.
I mentioned about the food. In
Okay.
terms of food, India seems to have a lot of instructions. In the kind of things that Indian parents instruct, Western parents don't, such as cow. Western parents will give you a food, whatever you eat. If you don't want to eat. Their theory is if the child is hungry, the child will eat. That's their theory. This is not our theory. Our theory is if we don't force the child to eat, the child is going to die of starvation. No, it's a basic instinct. The child will eat if the child is hungry. So, in that sense, the Western parents don't do it. But they'll do it in another way.
Can I ask you, you said incident was given about the girl and you suggested a family to call a conference and, have a meeting and discuss with the child and not keep giving instructions every time. Actually, I mean, are we going to run house like corporate houses or something?
How you run your house is your business. If whatever method you employ, if it is getting the results you wish it to get, then it's a good method.
Yeah.
I mean, the test of the pudding is in the eating.
Right. Yeah.
And when they call a meeting by the family means you don't involve the whole world. You and your child, maybe your spouse or whoever. You have to find a system that works for you. But whatever your system is cannot include going on and on and on and on, saying the same thing over and over again. Okay, so knowledge is not about following mechanical rules of do's and don'ts. Knowledge is a deep comprehension that allows you to never make the same mistake again. To be able to get that, the first prerequisite is an awareness of ignorance. That I am ignorant now, not I was ignorant then. I am ignorant now. Because if I don't feel this now, then I'm not going to learn anything more. I have basically closed the doors to my own growth. So I am ignorant now. When I open my book in the morning to study, it must be with that feeling. I am ignorant now. I don't get it. And I know I haven't got it because I am not
Self-realized.
self-realized. Because I am not self-realized. I haven't got it. Right? So that's where we were last time. And then also I think we did the next paragraph, which was that knowledge does not mean collection of information. It doesn't mean that. Oh, I'm Google. So Google is not a very wise guy, So what if you have so much information? What of it? I know whole Vedanta treatise by heart. What of it? It's better we learn one concept and we know it thoroughly. Then we know so many things. Not a memory test. We're not trying to become Shakuntala Devi here. Right? So, knowledge is not about information gathering. That is the great words of Spencer. Herbert Spencer was asked, do you read a lot? And he said, no, I don't. If I was as big a reader as others, I would have been as big an ignoramus. So I hope that line is clear. What does it mean if I had been a big reader, I would have been an ignoramus?
I would be
You
as
would have stopped.
ignorant as others.
Yes, of course. But what does it mean? Obviously, this is wrong, right? If you're a big reader, why would you be ignorant? You would be knowledgeable. You'd be valid. You'd know stuff. So why does he say if I was a big reader, I would have been a big ignoramus?
You would
You're
stop
reading
learning and growing.
because
Sorry?
you were reading and not reflecting on it.
Very good. Because you've read so much that you had no time to reflect, and therefore none of that knowledge is now yours. It's only a memory, if at all, or not even a memory. You read so much that you had no time to reflect. So that's what he's trying to draw our attention to. If you're a huge reader, you read so much that you never took the time, you never had the time. You're a speed reader, you read so much, you never had the time to reflect upon this, to think about it, to let it mix with your personality. It's almost like you ate food, but you didn't masticate it. You didn't enjoy it, you didn't masticate it. Your body didn't digest it. So the food leaves the system. And though you ate it, there's no nutrition. There's only calories. You just put on a lot of weight. But your body didn't even get any nutrition. So similarly, when you take in all this information, but there's no thought behind it, then you put on weight, you put on head weight, but the head never got nutrition. The intellect never grew. But the ego became a nice fat fellow because he now knows so much. We don't want to be there. We want to have digested, deeply understood what it's talking about in such a way that that when the time comes, the knowledge will guide me. I don't need anything else. Okay, so this concept of education, it's what we do in schools, right? Do we teach children to think about what they read? No. What do we want them to do? Memorize something, write it on the paper, forget about it. Next year, what do? Memorize something, write it on our papers, forget about it. We never taught our children that this is not education. This is a madhouse. Do you remember anything of what you learned in school? You only remember those things that out of your own will and intention and by some luck you managed to reflect on. Just by some luck. Because at that time you were still a child and your natural tendency to think about things hadn't been removed. Sad, no? So, who will read the next? So far, so good, right, everyone? So, who will read the next
And
paragraph?
I'll read
Yes, please.
an essential, the basic concept from there.
Yes.
Yes, basic concept.
Uh, it's a different page. The basic concept. The basic concept of education has been lost. Education has come to mean mere acceptance of past thoughts and ideas, and unquestioning obeisance to authority, more so with regard to religious doctrines and dogmas. Religion has been reduced to fanatic beliefs, fiendish superstitions, and mechanical rituals. These parasitic practices have led humanity to extreme fundamentalism, and the religious fundamentalists are destroying the world. Religious texts were no doubt products of revelations of realized souls, but people have blindly accepted them without spending thought and reflection upon them. Few have an understanding of the subject. The blind are leading the blind. This has crippled the modern society. Preceptors and precepts of the past are taken more on trust rather than knowledge and understanding. A child grows into a particular faith even before it becomes an adult, and adults too have lost their power of reasoning. There is hardly any study, reflection, or research on the truths governing life. The world faces a total stagnation in the field of religion. The soul of religion has been slain, and people are hugging onto its carcass. So I should summarize this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Today, education has been restricted to a mere blind following of religion um, and tradition, which has crippled modern society.
It has come to mean blind acceptance of past thoughts and ideas.
Yes.
You know, children, even they ask questions, which is a natural human thing to ask a question. The natural human trait. The child will keep asking. The parent will say, I'm your mother, you have to listen to me. Or I'm your father, you have to listen to me. Or and we have done it like this so long, and now you are the bright soul who wants to question this. Children are born with that. That's human to question. It's not human to follow. We are not sheep. It's human to question. That's why we respect questions. It's a natural human trait. But we will train our people to have unquestioning obedience. Follow, we will tell our people, and we will indoctrinate them into following. This is what is happening in secular education. We are not encouraging any form of thinking on your own. Nothing. Secular education, when it comes to religious education, you can just imagine how bad it is. Okay, ऐसे शास्त्रों में लिखा है, once it is said, once this statement is made, now everybody just shut up. The Shastra was written by a person who found the truth. And just as he has the ability to find the truth, so do I. Nobody tells us that. Nobody tells us that just as the people in the past who became great, we can become great. For that, we need to know what they said, but we don't need to follow what they have said. We need to find out what of what they are said are eternal truths and what have they just said at that time to help somebody who asked for that particular advice. We need to know this. We need to find it out. How are you going to find it out? You have to think about the various things that are being said. You have to apply yourself. Vedanta is not about you following rules or telling or anybody telling you what to do or saying this is right and if you do anything other than this, it's horrible. No, not at all. It is for us, each one of us, to individually take one step forward. So, what is this paragraph telling us? That the basic concept of education has been lost. It is all about acceptance of past ideas. Never had time to reflect on it. So, what new thing are you going to come up with? You're going to just say whatever was said before. And then you're going to fall in love with it by the theory of attachment. And then believe it is so right. And anybody who doesn't do that is really a horrible person. So many authors have written about this from time immemorial. You read Shaw, you read Dickens, you read anybody you read, any classical author you read, you will find people who are doing so-called wrong things are actually the heroes of the story. You know, things in Indian cinema you see this, isn't it? So-called wrong things. And yet the person was proved to be the real hero of the story. What is that? Amar Prem and all. Think of all the stories. Think of all that Hindi cinema itself tells us. The person appears to be doing so many wrong things, but actually that's the person with the morality. Rajesh Shastri. Isn't questioning also bound by a need to know basis? Yes, of course, questioning is bound by a need to know basis. But of course, for different people, the need will be different. Is the person asking eligible, ready to get the required answer? Yes and no. If you're asking the question, you are eligible to get the answer. It's when you don't ask the question that we know you're not eligible for that answer. Now, let's say somebody is asking a question on physics. The same question can be answered from 5th standard level, 10th standard level, college level, PhD level. Now, the person answering that question will have to make an assessment in which class you're in and therefore give an answer accordingly. And that person can do it only if they have understood the concept. Otherwise, they will just say whatever they've learned. If they learn 5th standard, they'll answer 5th standard. If they've learned PhD, they'll answer PhD. Learned means mechanically learned. So therefore, they won't be able to help the person. But the questioner's eligibility comes surely by asking the question. The moment he asks the question, he's eligible to hear an answer. Wouldn't he get answers once he is ready and hence need to follow the process today without constantly questioning? Wouldn't he get the answers once he's ready? He's ready. If he's asked the question, he's ready. Maybe the answer is that you have to do X, Y, and Z, in which case he will have to do X, Y, and Z to get the answer. He can't follow a process until he's got his answer, right?
No,
Is that
Janki, it's
Rajesh?
Janki Rajesh, Hariom. It's also a factor of whether the person is in a position to comprehend what you're saying, right? And he has to be also the question of Vedanta. I mean, you obviously there's as you mentioned, Swamiji, obviously would tell you that you have to spend time to understand the process before you come back and ask him 100 odd questions, right? So I think that there is a base to why we're saying that, right? I mean, you continuously keep questioning and you expect someone to come back to you with answer for everything that you ask, then it really doesn't help you to go through the churn, because a lot of it is also self-discovery, isn't it? I mean, unless you spend time with yourself, and it's the same with school, right? And the teacher is not going to answer every question that you're asking. Of course, you can ask, but it's not binding on the teacher to come back and answer every question, give you an answer for everything that you're asking, because you have to go through the journey yourself. That's where I'm coming from. I mean, so I think there is a reason why the kids are told that okay, you'll get to know when you need to know, right? It's not that you're jumping the gun and asking things when you're not ready for it.
Okay, I think what you're saying is true, but I think what you're referring to is impulsive questioning.
Correct.
Hardly has the question come into your mind and you start talking about it. We're not talking about impulsive questioning. We're talking about a thoughtful glance on whatever you're studying. So when you give it a thoughtful glance, you will get a question. You have to struggle to get the answer. And of course, you can take help in getting the answer too. You are referring to questioning in an indisciplined manner. But when we talk about questioning, the assumption is disciplined questioning. And I say, why are you putting an assumption over there? Suppose a doctor tells you for your health you need to eat spinach. Then the assumption is you're not eating spoiled spinach, right? The assumption is you're eating good, fresh spinach. So similarly, when you are questioning, the assumption is you're doing this in a disciplined way, your head is working. The whole point in this questioning is that you're thinking, you're reflecting. And that kind of reflection will bring about questions which you can answer yourself or you can ask your teacher. Both are fine. And the more you struggle to answer it yourself, the more you will get the answer yourself. And if the teacher were to give the answer, the easier the answer goes in also. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
Bharat, what if on questioning no satisfactory answer is given by an authority? Do you still carry on with that particular activity as suggested by the authority? I hope you're not referring to Karma Yoga, Bharat. What if on questioning no satisfactory answer is given by an authority? Then you hold your question. You're not satisfied. You're not satisfied. Do you still carry on with that particular activity as suggested by the authority? Depends on the situation. All actions depend on the situation. If you were in a job or in a situation where you're in the military or you're in a situation where you have to follow a certain leader for whatever your purpose, it may be in your cooperative society or wherever, your prime minister, whoever, you have to follow. You may not, for instance, believe that you should be wearing a mask. But it is the law of the land that you have to wear a mask. If it is the law of the land, you better follow it. Otherwise, you will be in jail. So similarly, if you are in an organization, you did not agree with your boss or the team leader who said that X has to be done, then you still have to follow, because the person who takes the responsibility has to be followed. Because the person cannot be expected to take responsibility but have no power of instruction. This cannot happen. Instruction and responsibility have to go together. So now whether you follow or you don't follow is a matter of what is your situation. If you are in a situation where You're not the boss. Somebody else is the boss. You have no option but to follow. But over here, we're not talking about those kind of situations. We're talking about an understanding of the knowledge itself. So if you come to Vedanta and you ask your question, your teacher a particular question, and the teacher gives you an answer which is not satisfactory to you. Suppose you ask Vedanta a question and you get an answer which is not satisfactory to you. You are not bound to accept that. You're simply not bound to accept it. However, as a caution, it would be better to shelve the idea for some time and look at it after 6 months. Because if this is what Vedanta says, then it's backed by a lot of thought. It's there in the Gita, backed by a lot of thought, right? So if I were you, at least, I would not reject it outright. I'd shelve it and look at it after some time. But you don't follow it because you've still not understood it. So there are two different situations which require two different approaches. Is that okay, Bharat?
Yes, thank you.
We are all aware of our bad education system, but who is going to bell the cat? Shouldn't Vedanta Academy make a humble beginning? If they have influence, take it up to PM HRD level, at least make a humble beginning. Why not you make a humble beginning, Pradap Bhai? Anyone can make a humble beginning. Why not you? So go ahead and make it. And if you want to take that up as your ideal in life, please do take it up, and you will be assisted in this process.
I don't have that kind of influence or what we just studied in the beginning. I don't know.
You don't have the influence, you don't need it. Nobody who's ever achieved anything in life started with having all the tools necessary. We are all restricted. We all don't have what we need to have. All of that is true for everybody, but when you have an ideal, you just go for it. But then that is your ideal. That is what you're doing. That is the single thing you're doing.
But Vedanta Academy is an institution, organization by itself. So the validation and authenticity of Vedanta Academy will be, and of the Swamiji itself, it will be so much.
Okay, so go ahead, make it happen. Get the appointment, work on it, make it happen. Things don't fall from the high heaven, Swamiji makes a declaration. Modi ji, do this, and Modi ji does it. It doesn't work like that. Go ahead, do the work that is involved. When you say Vedanta Academy is an institution, they're just people who are dedicated to some cause, each one doing whatever is inspiring to them, and it all works together as an institution. So if this inspires you, please take it up. Work for it. Do all the work that is required. And of course, you have any backing that you need with or without the academy, you will still go through. We can't superimpose our ideals on others. If you have an ideal, take it up. And you will be assisted. But to tell somebody who's doing something, now Bharat is doing something. So you say, Bharat, you take up this cause. That won't work, right? If Bharat is inspired, you take it up. And that's how all NGOs work. Whoever's inspired for something takes it up. Anita is inspired now to do a class promotion. So she's taken it up. She's doing it. Anita and Vidushi and Tejas, they've got together and they're going to try and promote our classes and get people to know that these classes exist. Great. Bharat, of course, has been doing it all this time. Omkar has been looking after different aspects of it. Deepa has taken up this idea of having interviews. Everybody is doing whatever they can to make sure that this knowledge goes out to as many people as possible. Anybody who can do anything, take it up. Get up and do it. This is a blank slate. You're in one place where you can do anything, absolutely anything, because every area needs to be looked after. Which area doesn't need to be looked after? Should we not speak to our leaders and tell them about Vedanta? Should we not speak to our bureaucracy and tell them about Vedanta? Should we not talk to the corporate world and tell them about Vedanta? Should we not speak to our students and tell them about Vedanta? Should we not talk to anybody who's willing to tell them about Vedanta? This is such a field we have. It's an ocean. So if anybody is inspired to work for any part of it, even if could be administration that is required to get everything happening, please take it up and do it. Every field is vacant here. Every post is vacant here. Whichever one you want, please take and do. It's an amazing thing. What an ocean there is for us to deal with. If anyone says, I don't have any work, come to us. We will give you lots of it. We will not give you, but you can help yourself to lots of it. Vaishali, does that mean that such actions are our obligations even if they are not satisfactory actions? Yes, Vaishali, it does mean if you're in an organization, you have to follow the leader. You have no choice. It does become your obligation. Otherwise, you have to leave. Can you imagine in any organization if different people just go in different directions, the organization can't move? You have the right to be in the organization or not be in the organization. But if you are in the organization, you have to follow whoever the boss is. That becomes your obligation. Because in that position, you're a follower. Follower not in the sense of you're following him like God, but you are the team which is supposed to do what he says. So you can't be. Suppose a military general says, attack this city. And you say, no, I think it's better to attack that city. You can't go and attack some other city, right? Everybody goes in the same direction. That's how force is created. And if you're really against it, get out of that situation. So, where were we now? So, it is not unquestioning obedience to authority, but it is an understanding of what the authority says. We are now talking about education here, okay? Not about work. Who will read the next paragraph?
I will read, Janki.
Please go ahead.
Great spiritual masters of the past gave out certain aspects of the truth, but no individual master could possibly cover the whole truth. Just as one scientist, however great, cannot present the entire subject of science. Science is the amalgam of the knowledges contributed by numerous scientists. So it is with Vedanta. Vedanta is the ultimate philosophy laid down by several savants and sages who were realized souls. Later on, individual masters brought in several religions only to preserve and present the supreme truth, like the husk does to the grain. But people all over have gathered the husk and discarded the grain. There is hardly any reasoning left in the world. To locate a person thinking rationally today is finding a needle in a haystack. What it suggests is that any concept or idea is never the work of just one person. It's a collective effort, and that collective effort has given rise to something valuable. But when we take it on individually, we may end up messing it up and not giving out the actual knowledge.
No, not any concept. Any individual can come up with some concepts. But like science is not just a few concepts. It's when you say science, you're referring to all the concepts, right? So similarly, when you speak of Vedanta, you're referring to all the truths. Now that is very different from saying, I'm going to follow one master and follow him fanatically. Because he has told only what one person can say. No, how much can one person say? So we have to get a complete understanding of it. That's what he's trying to say. And how do we get from what one master says? You can get a complete understanding, but you need to think about it. Reason along with him. And then you will get what he's trying to say, and then you'll get the complete thing. And then when you speak, you can also not say the whole thing. How can you say the whole thing? Not possible. Is that clear? So, great masters gave out certain aspects of the truth. Why did they give out certain aspects? One is obviously a human being cannot say everything. Secondly, he's talking to somebody, right? So he's going to say what is relevant to the person he's talking to. But he can't cover. Like when you go to the doctor, he gives you a prescription. He can't tell you everything. So just as one scientist cannot present the entire subject of science, so to one master cannot provide the entire knowledge of philosophy. Can't be done. But those who told us, they knew it. They told us the path that was relevant to the people they were speaking. So we have to take that, think about it, and from that get the whole truth. But to think about it, you need to be a rational thinker. Now that's where the trouble lies, finding a rational thinker. Both are needed. So we continue to go around in circles. Okay, so that's it for today. Hari Om.